Hello, I'm Linda Willow Roberts, and here's another episode of How to Manifest, another magical manifesting conversation. I am so excited. I've got Kelly Van Nelson here, who's a #1 author, best-selling author of Graffiti Lane and Punch and Judy. Her poetry has been featured in numerous international publications, winner of the Business Changing the World with AusMumpreneur, 2020 finalist of Telstra New South Wales Business Woman Award. She hangs out on the open mic night and she's from Sydney. Let's welcome Kelly. Hi, Kelly. How are you?
Good morning, Linda. I'm very well, thank you. And thanks for having me on your show.
Oh, look, it's wonderful. I'm talking to lots of spiritual leaders and lots of business leaders around the world. Now, I've just introduced you. You're the best-selling author of Graffiti Lane, Punch and Judy. Your poetry is out there. You're also a CEO, is that correct?
Managing director of a Fortune 500, yeah.
I know. And so you're so busy. So what we're talking about with How to Manifest is first some of the challenges that we had early on in life and how you stepped onto some of the directions that you went. Did you have challenges when you were younger?
I definitely did. So as a child, I was born and raised in Newcastle upon Tyne in a working class council estate, underprivileged area, I would say. And my father passed away in his 40s and my mum remarried 4 times. So quite a broken home and not a lot of love in the household. It was very, very difficult. And at school, in my high school, it was even worse. I was bullied relentlessly for quite a long period of time by a group of girls. And I learned to develop a really thick skin and resilience very, very young. And I use a lot of those skills today that I've gained from that childhood.
Well, if they can see you now, that's what it was like. So I'm coming from a different aspect of it. So I was a bit of a bully at school. So I've actually had to tame and fix a lot of my karma and stuff like that. So how did you step into what you wanted to do? How did it power you up? So obviously you said that you developed a thick skin, but you also, did it help you with your drive and ambition?
Yeah, it definitely did. From a very young age, I was 16 actually when I left school, not because I wasn't clever enough, but because I wanted to get out of Newcastle and get out of the situation that I was in. And I knew inside that I just had this sort of knowing that I could achieve more in life and that I wasn't going to, accept what I had been dished, I guess. So I think I was about 18. I bought a one-way ticket to London. And I put myself through night school, got a job, self-funded myself through night school and educated myself that way, not through the normal career pathways, but just through an absolute desire to carve a better future for myself. And I knew that I could do that. Nobody else. I could make different choices. I could stay in Newcastle in the circumstances and environment I was in, which wasn't really giving me a lot of opportunity, or I could create, my own opportunities, and I took the latter, and it paid off.
Isn't that great? Some of our stories are very, very similar that I've been speaking to with dynamic people. Like I didn't do much at school, and I left school, and then I put myself back through school to learn. And I think that's what you do. There's a drive to have a better life. And I wanted a better life for myself and my daughter later on in life. And I think that pushed me on my travels. So what was the first thing after you went to school? What did you do? What was it that filled your soul that you wanted to do in your life?
I always, my school friends that I am still in touch with always remember me saying from about the age of 13 that I was going to write a book. And from a very young age, I was a big reader. So from about 13, I was always reading under the duvet with the torch till late at night, through to the early hours of the morning. And deep down inside, I always had this ambition to be a writer. And that's been there from childhood. So when I left school and moved to London, I took 2 sort of steps. The first was to educate myself enough to get a good job. So I did a course in computer studies, actually, which at the time was very new. And I started writing in earnest. And I still have those 2 channels in my life now as both a writer and in the corporate world. And I started that journey at the age of 18.
That's really amazing. That's really great, isn't it? And your book, Graffiti Lane and Punch and Judy, have done really, really well. And so do you use writing as to help you get through any blocks and challenges that you've had in your life? Have not just writing stories, but has it helped you let go of things?
Yeah, it definitely has. I think writing has this enormous sort of secret power of both healing the author and healing parts of yourself as you go through your own writing process and write about the topics you want to get out there and share. And I think it can help other people, and I use it for both reasons. And it definitely sort of is a stress relief as well. I find it one of the most relaxing things to do at night before I go to bed. I have a very stressful corporate day job, and before I go to bed, I love to write poetry or do something creative or write a short story or whatever it may be in the writing world. And it helps me to channel energy from that day, good, bad, and different energy. Or it helps me to capture in my creative writing something I might have seen that day, I might have heard that day, or might have experienced myself. And it's a way to to sort of express myself. It's got huge healing powers. And I use writing now today as a vehicle for driving change in the world beyond just me. It's definitely getting enormous traction. The poetry is going a little bit viral, and it's definitely helping quite a broad bunch of people in in I guess underprivileged circumstances or in challenging life situations, and that's a really rewarding side of the writing now.
It is, isn't it? As a spiritual teacher and mentor, I've written a book and I've got my own oracle cards, and I've found that it's such a if people can't access me directly, then through the tools, the manifesting tools that I've created, they can access those. And that's exactly what you're saying is you're getting the message not only out to the people that are in your role or in your environment, out to mainstream people to get the messages out and help people. And I think it's so very powerful when you connect to a book and connect to somebody's writing and their life story, to be able to resonate with it. And you take us on a discovery and a journey with you. And I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I think it was funny because the first poetry book, a lot of that was based on childhood, and there are a lot of themes in there around anti-bullying, bullying in school, playgrounds, bullying in the corporate world, and also developing resilience and willpower and inner strength. And not, I have a phrase which I use all the time for my own self, which is only you can spread your wings and fly, about not clipping your own wings and not being your own worst enemy, and finding ways and techniques to overcome roadblocks and and use positive thinking to motivate and self-inspire. So the first book that was what the kind of themes were that came through that book. And I used graffiti as a sort of urban theme. I love writing about urban life. I'm from a concrete jungle, and I find the beauty in everyday life, not in vandalism, but in street art and in alternative creative channels. So it started there, and it's now got this real following of youths, especially in the youth community, of people who are now keen to explore different pathways through life, not necessarily the traditional route of university or the privileged backgrounds, but finding ways to make more out of life through taking small baby steps to achieve big goals, leveraging big opportunities and self-fulfillment, and finding things that create joy. And that's quite fulfilling. So that was the beginning of it all. I think it started with childhood, getting out my experiences, and it really got traction quite quickly, which is really, really great.
Yeah, I really think, like in the spiritual world, when we're manifesting, that if we're doing something for our highest good or the highest good of all, and we're actually being in service and wanting to help people, I think that's when we get the doors start to open, because we get into the spiritual flow of wanting to help. And we can be our authentic selves, because spirit doesn't need everybody to be the same. People need to be able to resonate with each individual person. And when you have a message that's heartfelt and honest and powerful and authentic, I think that's easier for people to pick up and identify with. And I just think that's really great. So your following is like with youth, and they can identify with the bullying. And like I said to you, I've had to, I've actually apologised to a couple of people and look at my behaviours and my conditioning and release those things. So you're actually helping people identify with both sides of that. That's really good. So in the corporate world, how do you incorporate, like it's like spiritual and analytical? And I ask this a lot of people because, you know, I was very analytical to start with, but the more I've been doing this 35 years, how do you balance the spiritual or the knowing and the intuition with the analytical?
I love this question, and I love that you talked just a second ago about authenticity and being individual, because I think for me it starts there. So if I go back 3 or 4 years, I was sort of rolling through life with, you know, I have kids and a husband and a family, which was one part of life. Then I was writing, and I
and you do all the other things as well.
I do all the other things, yeah. And I was working in the corporate world, which was another sort of part of life. And then I was writing, and they were like these compartmentalized silos. And I had never really broken down those barriers. And I actually got some business coaching on this and some coaching from my publisher around knocking down those walls and embracing one whole sort of universe and allowing myself just to be one authentic person. And I really started doing that a couple of years ago, where, for example, I now take my kids into work. They come to some book events. I talk in the corporate world about my writing, and I talk in my writing about the corporate world. So I now have what I would say this one big sort of just one whole universe, really, instead of these different parallel worlds. And I feel more authentic. I feel I can speak more freely. I feel it's actually enabled me to have more time, because I can multitask across the different worlds quite successfully now. And I just feel much more true to the heart. And I definitely think it is a unique balance that, you know, a very senior, I'm on a board of, you know, executives, and then I'm this creative writer of, you know, slam poetry that's down at grassroots level. It's quite activist in its sort of content. And I embrace that now. I was a little afraid of it in the early days, but I embrace it now. And I think it's another reason it's getting traction, because I'm much more authentic to my true self.
Lovely. And I think that's what happens. Like, my name is Linda, but I felt that my spiritual name was Willow. And a long time ago, people would say to me, what's the difference between Linda and Willow? And I'd say, well, Linda is my thinking person, is when I'm doing things, and Willow is when I get the blurts and it just comes out. So if I'm in the supermarket and I'm Linda, but if I'm teaching you a workshop, I'm Willow. But really, I encompass all of that. So I understand that. And so we have to actually, it's holistic, isn't it? It's mind, body and soul. And for us to be and feel those inner voids, we actually need to be a whole person. Is there a favourite poem of yours that you could, that's short, that you could read for us or say now? Or is that putting you on the spot?
No, I can do one. I might do one that sort of is, it's more where it all started, excuse me, around imposter syndrome. And we can chat a little bit about that, about overcoming your own setbacks. And yeah, I could probably do this one. It's called Imposter Syndrome. It's a little bit in the corporate world. If it were not for the laminated name tag stuck to my cubicle with blue tack, I would be a nobody. If it were not for burning the midnight oil, leaving no stone unturned, I would still be barren of business cards. If it were not for practicing debate in front of the mirror to remove the quiver in my voice, I would never have influenced an outcome. If it were not for training my brain to find creative ways to improve the status quo, I would forever be stuck in the way we've always done things. If it were not for building trust with colleagues who share the load I would not be able to carry, the burden alone. If it were not for doing a good job and consistently delivering on promises, I would not have a meaningful seat at the table. So why do I doubt myself every day, pushing the limits to keep the burning question at bay? Am I good enough? Thank you.
Wow.
That's that one.
Thank you very much. And that's the whole growth, being spiritual or manifesting or just being the best version of you, is being enough and feeling worthy. That's amazing. I absolutely love that. That got me in my heart. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd share that one a little bit. I do a lot of work with high schools and with unis around coaching students to want to be work ready, that's to do with my corporate role where I work in the recruitment and staffing industry and the employment industry, and coaching them to be work ready and to build agility and to build skills that will be that are soft skills, but that will see them through life. And to not hold back and to always put the best version of yourself forward, and to develop an inner confidence, when you're in the workplace. But I use it for myself as well. Sometimes when I'm self-doubting, whether it be through writing, and you get a million rejections as a writer, and if you accepted that, and didn't keep going, you would never make it. So I use it in the writing world to deal with rejections, that, it's one person's point of view, keep writing and send your work somewhere else. And I use it in the corporate world as well around, generally when you walk in a meeting, if you're feeling, doubt and a lack of confidence, it's from yourself. It's coming from yourself. And so I shake it off and I say, I'm good enough to have this seat. I have a voice and I have a view, and I sort of shake off the doubt and find my confidence that way. So I do a lot of coaching on just embracing life and putting the best version of yourself forward.
That's really great. Like when I'm doing workshops, I always sort of say to them, when you're trying to make a decision, release fear and doubt and then see how you feel about it. If we stopped everything that we were fearful of, we wouldn't do it. Like I said before, I have an article in the New Idea today about my predictions with the pandemic, and I didn't go to a very good school, and I'm a little bit dyslexic, and I've written a book, and my articles, I've got, I think, articles in about 6 different magazines in the last 2 months. So if I was fearful, and I wouldn't be able to do it, but I do call on Thoth, who's an Egyptian archetype, to help you with writing, and Gabriel, I always call them in, so I have a little bit of help from high above. But you really need to step forward, don't you? You've got to get rid of the doubt and the fear. So if there was any teenage kids or people going for job interviews, or what would you say to them? What would be the first thing that you would say to them to help them manifest what they want in their life?
I always sort of coach people to say, don't worry too much about the hard skills and about your experience or lack of experience. What I coach them on is around the way you carry yourself into that interview. And it counts for probably about 50% of the assessment around, the way that you can express yourself, the way that you can communicate, and the way that you can show someone that you are agile and willing to learn, and that you have a good, positive frame of mind and attitude to add value to any organization. It doesn't matter what level, what role, what company. It's around demonstrating to someone in that interview that you are prepared to listen and learn and do the best that you can for that organization. So I coach on that, and I tell them, take away the fear and the worry about all the things you don't have, and look and focus on your strengths inside and in your soft skills, because everybody has them. And I think it helps people to ease up on themselves a little bit, to go into an interview and know, all right, they're not just going to be looking in this interview for everything that I don't have. But I always say, just go for it. If you're not putting yourself out there, you're holding your own self back, and it's back to clipping your own wings. So spread your wings, give it a go, take some chances and some risks, and tell yourself you are good enough. Before you walk in, steady your breath. And probably the other one, you mentioned it as well, about preparing mind, body and soul. So a lot of people prepare content, what they want to say, and I used to do this as well all the time if I was presenting at work in the corporate world. And now I balance it more around how do I prepare my mind, get a good night's sleep, wake up positive, and, before I walk on stage, before I present, or before you go in an interview, get yourself in the right frame of mind that I can do this, and I'm going to make this work, and I'm cool and I'm confident, and then in the body breathe, and, and focus. And with the soul, why are you going for it, and what is it going to fulfill in your life? Why you really want either the job that you're interviewing for or whatever it is you're doing. And it will help you in that process to, articulate yourself better if you understand all of those dynamics. And I say prep all of them equally.
Oh, yes. It's got to be holistic, doesn't it? I mean, just hydrating yourself, and it just makes your skin look a lot clearer, doesn't it? But when you're doing it mind, body, and soul, and I teach in the workshops that, people that want jobs that haven't got them, I said to them, we are a mirror. The universe, reflects back to us what we are. And I said, so if you want a job, get up of a morning, get in the shower, go out in the car and drive as if you're going to work, and just create the momentum that's the energy that you're putting out there. So it's really being about you creating the feelings of what you want to attract as well. So that actually is what happens.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. And have faith in yourself. Have faith in, if your greater powers that you believe in, but have faith in your own self, that you're good enough and you've got something good to offer an organization, or, in your writing, or whatever the thing is that you're chasing. Chase the dream. I say go for it and give it everything you've got.
Reach for like you said, spread your wings. But, when you fly is first love yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, it starts there. Yeah. It does. Yeah.
It really does. So what have you got? What else have you got coming up this year?
Yeah, it's a crazy year. So I guess in the corporate world, I've just been nominated for I'm a finalist in the CEO magazine awards, executive awards for managing director of the year. So work is going really, really well at the moment, in that we have got a pandemic going on, but in the job that I'm doing, we are working incredibly hard at the pointy end to redeploy as many job seekers as possible into new positions, and doing some reskilling to get them work ready again for the new world and the new skills that the market, are demanding. So the work front is really good. We'll see what happens with that. The awards are in November. With the writing, it's gone crazy. I don't even know where to start with the writing. So the Graffiti Lane came out last year. Punch and Judy is my second book, came out this year, which is actually on the theme of turbulent love and relationships and domestic violence. So both books went to #1 bestsellers, and I'm doing a lot of work at the moment in the domestic violence space.
Is that something that you've experienced in your life?
Not with a partner so much, but it was turbulent in my household as a child. There were different stepdads and different dynamics in there, and it wasn't always pretty. So I tend to, I just want to really represent people who are in challenging situations, whatever they may be, whether it's, mental health awareness, whether it's suicide prevention, whether it's domestic violence, and, and bullying situations. Ultimately, there's a bravery in there and a courage in there for the individuals experiencing those challenges. So again, my writing is about resilience and, the art of willpower, the art of self-love, and overcoming obstacles and challenges in life to find alternative ways to move forward and find new pathways. So that was Punch and Judy, and then I've got about another 3 or 4 books contracted and in the pipeline to come out. A novel next year, a collection of short stories this year, another poetry book in the works, and I've got quite a bit happening with turning some of the poems into short movies, especially the ones with a big message. I've got a couple on domestic violence and on bullying that made it into the Melbourne Spoken Word Festival, and I've got a 1-hour film reel happening in the Melbourne Fringe in November as well, which is getting the work into this big, different audience, digital world, and I'm embracing technology and getting online and doing the online slams.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I changed my life. I wanted a different life for my daughter and myself. And I was in a very volatile marriage, and it wasn't good. And I wanted to get out of it. So I started working through and doing different modalities spiritually, trying to give or have the power to change things for myself. And in my book, 7/8 of Me, A Tale of a Spiritual Adventurer, I go through the steps of where I really doubted myself. And then I really trusted spirit. So I live in a synchronicity, and I get whatever comes up, I say yes to, and wherever I need to go, spirit has taken me to. And it's because of a message. There's a message that we need to get out, and that's what you're doing. And people are resonating with the message, and it's the right time. It's divine timing for you to get it out there. So I just hope that the more that you do, and I know that you're going to be successful, and I know your work's going to get out there, but people are going to resonate with the message that you're giving. So, you know, hats off to you for doing that. So well done.
Thank you. Thanks.
So personally, what do you do that helps you get ready holistically for your busy life? Like you are really, really busy. How do you keep it together?
I definitely embrace the outdoors, and I have a dog. I walk my dog all the time and take the kids for a walk. And sometimes I'm working at the same time. I've got the headphones in a lot, but I love to get outdoors, keep fit and feel well, and embrace nature and that balance. I do that 3-4 times a day. I go for a big walk, often during the working day for work meetings. I've started really. The pandemic helped me to start to do that even more than I was before, to get outside and just to shake off the cobwebs. And it does help me to regroup my thoughts and think better when I do that. I love cooking. I just I don't know. I think probably the big thing is still the writing. Every time I have a little window, I will generally use that little window of time to write a new poem.
Yes.
Often I type them on my phone, or I record them on the phone app now, so it's really super efficient. And it's just the best stress relief for me. And not just stress relief, I feel real joy from it, and I feel really that I'm refueling the batteries and the soul, and that it's my purpose, and then I take those little pieces of work, and I build them into, I build upon them and create them into a bigger piece or a better piece, and then get them out into the world. And it's starting to really get this snowball momentum. And I definitely feel that it's meant to be, and it's my time, and that my messages are resonating with more and more people, which is truly fabulous. I feel I've definitely found my purpose.
And that's a key to you, in itself, is when we find our purpose, it gives us energy, it lights up our eyes, and it rocks our soul. And that's really the best indication that that you found your life purpose. So Kelly, I really thank you very much. We have to cut it short. I could talk to you for hours. Thank you very much for joining me. Good luck with the award for the later in, I think it's November. And looking forward to more of your books and more of your poetry. Thank you for joining us on How to Manifest.
Thank you so much for having me.